can I just say one thing firstly? I love the name Eat Sleep Boxing Repeat.
Welcome back to ESBR Boxing's YouTube channel. It's me, Niall. Delighted as always to be joined by Danny, and we're here in final prediction mode, giving our thoughts and final predictions on Pat Brown's American debut this Saturday night in Orlando, Florida, as he takes on Felix Valera. Yeah, Pat Brown undefeated, looking to maintain his big knockout streak, his undefeated record, of course, former standout amateur against a real veteran from the Dominican Republic, here, Danny and Felix Valera. But yeah, I hope you're well as always. But yeah, let's jump straight into it. Let's get down to it. What is your final prediction for Pat Brown against Felix Valera?
Yeah, cheers, mate. Looking forward to this. On paper, you would look at this and think this is a considerable step up for Pat Brown. Felix Valera been in with the likes of Dimitri Bivol, Sullivan Barrera, but those fights a long, long time ago and down at light heavyweight. And although the form and going the distance in those fights is something to make note of, I don't imagine it's going to be too much use to him here. Started his career at a super middleweight, actually, Valera, I saw, and Pat Brown's a good sized cruiserweight, fresh, young, and I think this is a really clever piece of matchmaking because after my prediction, spoiler, Pat Brown, a stoppage here, maybe in the early to mid rounds. If that happens, you can say, oh, this guy went the distance with Dimitri Bivol, he went the distance with Sullivan Barrera, yada, yada, yada. But the context is important. But Valera can punch. He's got a very impressive knockout ratio. So there is an element of jeopardy here for Pat Brown. But ultimately, I expect him to do what he has been doing and stop Felix Valera, yeah.
Yeah, it's nail on the head for me. I totally agree. You look at his record on paper, Felix Valera, he can punch, been around the block and shared the ring with some real top operators. But yeah, as you say, that kind of peak, I suppose, of his was down at light heavyweight. You say he started his career at super middleweight as well, but you look at the kind of the biggest puncher in cruiserweights he's been in with, he's been stopped early. Cheslak and Alexei Papin, I believe, stopped him in consecutive fights last year. So, he does struggle with the power, it seems, up at cruiserweight. And Pat Brown, as you say, big puncher in cruiserweight. I'm going with a stoppage here as well. I'm going, yeah, early enough stoppage, maybe around three or four. I think he should have enough to get it done. But as you say, it is clever, clever matchmaking because you can sell it as he done something that Dimitri Bivol couldn't do. That's, people could lap that up, but yeah, he should get it done here, and I expect him to get a stoppage and impress in his stateside debut. So yeah, we're both going for a Pat Brown stoppage win here. Just kind of discuss a little bit about Pat Brown before we wrap up. What's your thoughts? I know it's early in his pro career, but he's blown away everybody he's been in the ring with. I know it might be too soon to throw around the world champion term, but how far could you see Pat Brown going in his professional career?
Yeah, he's been exciting so far, Pat Brown, and I think there definitely have been signs of improvement as he's, undertook the sort of first year of his pro career. I was at his debut in Altrincham, the ice rink, very cold venue. Just like to put that out there. And he was in with an Argentinian fella, I believe, and he was dominant enough throughout and got the stoppage, but he was getting hit a lot, and not just with the odd jab. Right hands were getting through, body punches were getting through, and that doesn't seem to be happening as much. He's tightened up the defense. You see him jabbing a lot more, and this is all stuff that'll serve him well. It's difficult to say if he'll become a world champion because, beneath Jai Opataya and Zurdo Ramirez, how strong is the cruiserweight division? Really, he could easily pick up a vacant world title. I want to see him go down the domestic route next year. I think, is it John Hedges and Ellis Sorrow are fighting for the English cruiserweight title? Winner of that, I think, makes all the sense in the world. And then potentially look on to British honours. Vidal Riley obviously got that belt at the minute. Remains to be seen what the lay of land will be next year. But as you say, it's too early to tell. Eddie Hearn's already talking about jumping up to heavyweight and winning world titles there, and not like him to get a bit carried away, but long way to go before we're talking about that. But clearly exciting, clearly can punch, and yeah, he sells a lot of tickets, so they'll imagine they'll maneuver him quite well.
Yeah, definitely. Like you said it right there. he has shown signs of crudeness, definitely being very rough around the edges. But I suppose that's the kind of be expected so early in a pro career. But as you say, there has been signs that those kind of rough edges are being smoothed out as it goes along. You know, I think you were also at his last fight, if I believe right, in Windsor
Quite a
Park.
few.
Yeah, Windsor Park, Belfast, got the job done there as well. But yeah, I agree. I think Hedges Zorro, the winner of that, definitely makes sense. That'd be a really good domestic fight for him. You mentioned another name there, Vidal Riley. I'll just throw it out before we kind of wrap up. Who would you pick to win that? Say that happens this time next year. Uh, Vidal Riley still holds the title. Who are you going for on that one?
Gotta favour Riley, don't you? I mean, much more experience going the rounds. He's fought fighters similar enough in style to Pat Brown. Chev Clark got a lot of strengths that are similar to those that Pat Brown has, and he walked that fight really. And Chev Clark at that point had done much more in his pro career than Pat Brown has thus far. So, yeah, Vidal Riley I rate pretty highly. To be fair, though, pretty unclear as to what's happening with him in regards to his promotional situation. So I don't know if he'll be fighting anyone anytime soon, let alone Pat Brown. But yeah, if that was to happen like in the next year, I think you've got to favour Vidal Riley maybe as time goes on and Pat Brown has more of those learning fights, goes the rounds, goes the 12 rounds, which is of course what it would be for the British title, then maybe the odds tip slightly closer to him. But right now, yeah, Vidal Riley for me.
Yeah, again, I agree. I know I threw the question out there, but maybe the next 12 months would be a little bit too soon. You would have to edge Vidal Riley just on that kind of professional experience, but it's definitely an interesting one for the future. But yeah, Pat Brown has to get past his American debut this Saturday night in Orlando, Florida, as he faces Felix Varela, the veteran from the Dominican Republic. Cruiserweight action in Orlando. Myself and Danny both going for a Pat Brown stoppage win. Let us know what you think. Do you agree with that, or can Valera spring what would be a big upset? Let us know what you think. Get involved down below in the comments, and as always, don't forget, please do drop a like on the video first of all. Subscribe to the channel at ESBR Boxing if you're not doing so already, and follow us on all social media. Danny, it was a pleasure. Take care.
Thanks, mate.